Mark Twain's classic American book The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is about a young boy named Huck Finn and his trip down the Mississippi River. The book is a sequel to The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. It is about Huck running away from his abusive father and going on his own adventure with a runaway slave named Jim. The story takes place in the south of the United States in the middle of the 19th century, when slavery was still legal and a big part of the culture there. Huck has always thought that slavery is a normal part of life. But as he spends more time with Jim on their journey, he starts to question his own ideas about race and humanity. At the beginning of the story, Huck lives with the widow Douglas and Miss Watson, who are trying to teach him how to be a good person. Huck, on the other hand, fights against these plans and wants to be free on the river. When Huck's drunk and violent father, Pap Finn, comes back and wants to take care of him, Huck has to run away and go on a journey down the river. On his journey, Huck meets a lot of interesting people, like the Duke and the Dauphin, who try to scam Huck and Jim out of their money. He also meets the Grangerfords and the Shepherdsons, whose feuding leads to tragedy, and Tom Sawyer, an old friend who helps him come up with a plan to free Jim from slavery. Throughout the book, Huck fights with his conscience as he tries to figure out what is right and wrong about slavery and how African Americans are treated in his society. He doesn't want to turn Jim in as a runaway slave, but he feels like he should. In the end, Huck realizes that Jim is just as much a person as anyone else and deserves freedom as much as anyone else. He decides to put his own safety at risk to help Jim escape to freedom. The use of everyday language is one of the most interesting things about The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Twain wrote the book in the dialect of the time and place where it takes place. This gives the book an authenticity and richness of language that is rare in literature. The use of vernacular helps to emphasize the cultural differences between the white and black characters in the book. It also shows how language can be used to reinforce power dynamics and social hierarchies. The complexity of people is another important theme of the book. Twain's characters are flawed and have many sides. He shows how they can be both brave and cowardly, kind and cruel, selfless and selfish. This nuanced look at human nature makes the characters in the book feel more real and like people we know, and it gives the story more depth and texture. The book has also caused trouble because it uses the racial slur nigger and shows African Americans as being subservient to and less important than whites. Some people have said that the book promotes racist ideas and shouldn't be taught in schools. Others have said that it is an important work that shows how race relations in America have changed over time. Twain was a strong opponent of slavery and racism, and his portrayal of Jim as a sympathetic and complicated character can be seen as an attempt to challenge the attitudes of his time. In conclusion, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is a classic book that explores important themes and asks hard questions about race, morality, and society. Its vivid descriptions of life on the Mississippi River and its memorable characters make it a classic of American literature. Its controversial use of language and portrayal of race are still debated today. Even though it has been controversial, the book is still a very important and influential piece of American literature and culture. The book's sense of adventure and escape is a big reason why it has stayed popular for so long. Huck and Jim's trip down the river is full of danger, excitement, and turns that they didn't expect. The book is a thrilling adventure that keeps readers on the edge of their seats. It is full of dangerous criminals and close calls with slave hunters. At the same time, though, the book is also a deep reflection on the social and cultural issues of its time. Twain uses Huck's journey to show how unfair slavery was and how deep-seated racism was in the South. He also shows the hypocrisy of so-called civilized society, which says it values morality and respectability but is willing to turn a blind eye when others are exploited or abused. At the end of the day, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is a book that forces people to face their own beliefs and biases. Through Huck's journey, Twain shows how even a young boy who doesn't seem to know much about the world can learn about it and learn to care about others. In conclusion, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is a literary masterpiece that continues to captivate readers. It is a pleasure to read because of its vivid characters, exciting plot, and rich use of language. Its powerful themes and social commentary also make it a book that makes you think and makes you feel. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is a great book to read, no matter how long you've been reading or how new you are to the world of books.